Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal, back for another live show as per usual every Monday to Friday. Now today is a bit different. We got to know the Premier League fixtures for next season and the schedule for them, and it's a tough start. From the earlier show we talked about every game that we have at the beginning of the campaign, and it's a really hard start, tougher than anyone else. Starting the season away to Man United, and then Leeds at home, and then Liverpool away at Anfield, and then I think there's an international break there. But coming back, you're going to face Nottingham, you're going to face Man City, and you're going to play Newcastle away. Another very, very tough away fixture. These are fixtures that you wouldn't really want to, you do not really want to start the season with, it's not ideal for us, definitely not ideal, but you have to be ready for them. You definitely have to be ready for that beginning of the season, and the only way to be ready for that beginning of the season is to get your transfers done early. We have no time to waste at all. We have no margin for error at all. Now, that's one thing we've learned from the last two seasons is you're not going to catch up with these teams. Maybe 3 seasons ago we would say doesn't really matter, it's only 5 games into the season, Man City only 4 points ahead, we can still catch up. Don't mind, it's only October, Liverpool only 6 points ahead, we have a game in hand, we're going to catch up with them. That is something we've learned that we cannot say at all. We cannot say that at all. The moment those teams are like 5 points ahead of you, 6 points ahead of you, even if it's in September, you're already in trouble. You're already in big trouble. You're not going to catch up with them. So you have to be ready from the beginning of the season. This time round, we cannot mess around. I'd say before the fixtures came out, I'd said you're going to need 9 wins out of the first 10 games. Now, it's looking very unlikely to do that because you're going to need to win against either both Liverpool and Man City, or beat United at Old Trafford and beat Newcastle away, beat Liverpool away. I think, you need to get 8 wins out of 10. And ideally, you don't want to lose to any of those teams. Again, it could go both ways, the good way or the bad way. The good way, you can go through those fixtures without losing, and then you keep our record against the big teams going. You start the season in a confident way, and we forget about everything that happened last season. And, by October, we're in a very, very good place, and the momentum is there. But it could also go the bad way, which is disastrous. Would be losing to both Liverpool and Man City in the first 5 games, and boom, you're 6 points behind. And that would be worse, especially if you haven't done any good transfer business. I don't think there'll be any excuses at all next season. So we have to do our transfer business early. We have to be ready by then. Players have to be there for the Singapore tour, for the Hong Kong tour. We just have to be ready. For the Emirates Cup, all the players should be there. We should be ready from the first game of the season. And we want a better season than what we had last season. So what are the transfer news updates today? Let's start with Benjamin Sesko. Striker is very important for those 5 games, for first 6 games, and throughout the whole season. A striker is very important. We don't want to start another season. I don't think anyone would be happy if we started next season, the first game against Man United, with Merino up front. He did a good job last season, but you do not want to start the new, fresh Premier League season with Merino up front or Havertz up front. No one really wants to see that when you had a whole 3 months to sign players. Now, we thought we had more than 2 months to go in the transfer window, but it's actually less than 2 months, because now from the beginning of the season, which is around 15th, when you play United around this time, 2 months from now, we have to be ready. So let's start with Benjamin Sesko and the latest on him. This is what Sport Witness have said. Arsenal have reached an agreement with Benjamin Sesko, and the Gunners have signaled to RB Leipzig that their offer will be in line with their expectations, which could be around 80 million to 100 million. So basically, they're saying Arsenal have agreed personal terms with Sesko. Sesko wants to join Arsenal. We've been told that Gyokeres wants to join Arsenal as well. But it's going to cost almost 90 million euros, which is around 70 million pounds, if you're going to get the deal done. Now, as of now, we still don't know who we are going to go for. I still can't tell you who we are definitely going to go for. I have no idea whether it's going to be Benjamin Sesko that we 100% push for, or is it going to be Gyokeres that we go for. Now, as I said yesterday, my feeling is that Arsenal really wants Sesko, but because of the money and the amount that Leipzig are requesting, Arsenal are waiting to see whether Sporting are going to drop their price on Gyokeres. And if Gyokeres ends up being 50-55 million, then Arsenal will forget about Sesko and go for Gyokeres. But if Sesko was like 60 million right now, I'm sure Arsenal would already paid the money for him. Sesko would have been an Arsenal player right now. But because they want like close to 100 million euros, Arsenal are like, you know what? Let's not pay that as of now. Let's just wait and see whether Gyokeres will be cheaper. And the Gyokeres situation is also a bit complicated. I've also just seen right now that the agent Jorge Mendes has joined that drama and is currently in talks with Gyokeres and also Sporting, like trying to sort out whatever is going on there. It's a problem. So you're not going to get Gyokeres right now unless you go and you pay Sporting that money immediately right now, which I don't think Arsenal are going to do it. I don't think it's really a case of Arsenal haven't decided who they want. I think they wanted Sesko. That is just what I'm thinking. But I think it's a case of money. They're waiting for the one who's going to be cheaper than the other and a better package in terms of the deal. As we were told like a week ago, Arsenal felt like Gyokeres was, in terms of overall package, Sesko was a better deal because he was younger. Wages would be a little bit cheaper, I think 5 years younger than him. And also money would be around the same in terms of the fees. So overall, they felt like Sesko would be a better deal. But I've recently been told that Gyokeres might be cheaper, Sesko will be more expensive. So I think Arsenal will look for the one that is going to be easier to pay in terms of installments, maybe wages and agent fees and all that. And eventually, I have a feeling that will be Gyokeres in terms of the money. I think Gyokeres will end up being slightly cheaper than Sesko. So at that point, we will see who Arsenal really wanted. If we still go for Sesko, even though it's more expensive than Gyokeres, then Arsenal really wanted Sesko. We were just waiting for the money to drop. Now, I don't think we're going to pay that 80 million, 90 million, 100 million euros that has been quoted there. I don't think that is going to be the case. I think we're going to wait until it drops to like 70 million with a better package in terms of how you're going to pay the money. That is what you're going to do. So it's another waiting game. No done deal or anything regards to Sesko and Gyokeres. What we know as of now is Sesko is happy to join Arsenal. Arsenal have agreed personal terms, and Gyokeres has said he prefers to join Arsenal ahead of Man United. So I guess in that case, as the ball is in our court, we just have to decide who we are going to go for. Hopefully in the next few days, or hopefully by the end of this week, which I doubt, we have decided who we want to go for. Because remember, even if we decide who we are going to go for, that is also going to still take time. Even if we say today we've decided on Gyokeres, we know Arsenal is going to say, okay, let's wait and see what is happening. Let's try and discuss the wages for another week. Let's try and see the length of the contract, which will take another week, all that. Eventually we'll come to sign a player in July. I'm not confident that you're going to sign a striker this June at all. I feel like it's going to carry over to next month. But we've seen with the fixtures coming out today, I'm sure the team has seen the fixtures coming out today, we don't have time at all. I think Man City are about to play. I've seen their squad in midfield with Cherki and Reinders and Foden in that midfield. Their team is looking strong even without Haaland in the lineup and stuff. So you need to stay up. You need to stay with them. I don't think Man City are going to be as bad as they were last season, especially with Rodrygo coming back. You don't want to even be 5 points behind them at any point of the season. You need to start the season strong. You basically have to be in front of those teams by the time you get to December. That's what needs to happen. You need to be ahead of them on level of on points with them. You cannot be behind them. So let's hope we make the decision on these two very, very quickly, and we can sort it out as soon as possible, and we can have a striker ready, not even for Man United in the first game, for the Singapore games against Newcastle and AC Milan. That is when we need to be ready. And then against who else are we playing? Newcastle, AC Milan, Tottenham, I think in Hong Kong. We need to be ready by then. So let's see. Next up, let's talk about Sky Sports also gave an update on that. They said Leipzig want a deal worth somewhere between 68 million pounds to 85 million pounds for Arsenal target Benjamin Sesko, according to Sky in Germany. So what I know is that Arsenal are not going to pay 85.5 million pounds. They're going to want to pay this 68.4, not even 70 or 75. We are going to want to pay this 68.4. Hopefully, though, whoever we get, again, I'll keep on saying every day, you know the words, hopefully it works. it has to work. Whoever we get, it simply has to work. So I'm putting my trust on this guy. Hopefully we do get the players that we need. Next up, let's go to Thomas Partey. So Hand of Arsenal said AC Milan made a brief inquiry into the availability of Thomas Partey last week. Sources suggest the wages of the Ghanaian was seen as a stumbling block for the Italian club. The player is still expected to return to London this week with no agreement as of last week. Now, I feel like eventually Thomas Partey is going to sign a contract. I don't think he's going to sign a 2-year contract, though I don't think Arsenal want that. I feel like he might extend for 1 year. That is, I'm 70% confident that Partey is going to extend for 1 year. But I don't think the season after that is going to be here. No, I think the season after that he still has a chance to like move to an AC Milan, move to a Barcelona. Even if he doesn't move this year, I still think if he manages to stay fit this whole season, if he stays at Arsenal, he might still have a chance to move to a Barcelona, to AC Milan the next year, or to Saudi Arabia, wherever he wants to go the next year. But there's still a 30% chance Partey might not be an Arsenal player this upcoming season, because we are now 18th of June and the contract is expiring at the end of the month. So where will Partey be? Will he be an Arsenal player? Will he be an AC Milan player? AC Milan have problem with the Thomas Partey wages. We heard that Thomas Partey might want a wage increase, and Arsenal are not even willing to pay him like the same amount that he was on before. Like Arsenal wanted to reduce it because of his age and all that. But because he was very available last season, and I think he played well majority of the season, and the fact that he was also covering for us at right back whenever we needed him and all that, I thought he earned at least 1 more year and at least the same wages that he was on. I mean, if he starts demanding obviously 300,000 or something like that, that is not possible to give a player of that age when you also need forward players. We need to be putting money on a striker and a winger. But hopefully it stays, because if Partey goes, we are going to need another midfielder, and we've not even completed the Zubimendi deal. I'm still not a fan of that, even if we get another midfielder, because I feel like Zubimendi would have needed someone to, help him adapt to the English game, help him adapt in that midfield position. If Jorginho is not there and Partey is not there as well, then that means Zubimendi from the very first game, we've seen the schedule, you're asking Zubimendi, listen, you're joining a new league. There's no time to adapt here. Straight away, we need you to perform against Man United away. Straight away, we need you to perform against Liverpool away. Straight away, we need you to perform against newly promoted Leeds, who are going to be trying to send a message that early on in the season, and September doesn't get easier. You need to help us win at St. James's Park, where we don't usually do it. And you also need to help us beat Man City again and beat Nottingham Forest again at the Emirates Stadium. That is what you're going to be asking Zubimendi to do if you don't have Partey there and you don't have Jorginho there, unless we have other plans for next season. That's why I'm really, really waiting for preseason to see what the plan is. I'm waiting to see where Merino is going to be playing. Is he going to be playing more as a number 8? Is he going to be starting more games, or is he going to be just a backup? Is he going to be starting a few games as a striker, maybe as a number 6, because that is his actual position in that midfield? Is Declan Rice going to be moved back to the number 6 position? If Partey goes, is it going to be Rice and Zubimendi and then someone else in the number 8? Maybe give Merino more chances. Maybe you're going to sign another attacking player because you've been linked to players like Rodgers. What is going to happen with Havertz? Where is he going to play? Are we going to see him on the wing? Is he going to start games regularly, or is he going to be a bench player? Is he going to play up front? Is he going to play in a front 2 with Sesko, Gyokeres? I'm looking forward to seeing all that, and that is one of them, midfield. How are we going to have our midfield, especially if Partey is not there? What are we going to do with that midfield? All that is very interesting to see. But that's the latest on Thomas Partey. We still don't know whether he's going to be here or not. But it looks like Arsenal are already looking at replacements for Thomas Partey. Now, I don't have an idea about this player that you're going to talk about. I didn't watch Sevilla a lot last season at all, and this is the latest from the reports. Arsenal are monitoring Lucien Agome situation, and he is one of the names on the shortlist to replace Thomas Partey. However, they have not contacted the player yet. With Sevilla's financial difficulties, Agome would probably cost less than 20 million euros. Again, however you're going to replace Partey with, if Partey goes, you're going to need to spend money. I'm not a big fan of spending money. That midfield position is very crucial. We watched PSG against Arsenal. I don't think we can find ourselves in a position where we have Zubimendi, and Agome might be a very good player. Zubimendi might end up fitting in the Premier League very, very well. but you don't want to find yourself in a situation where, first 5 games, Zubimendi is not yet ready. And then what do? Do you go and you play a Gome there? Or, are you going to play Declan Rice there? Because we have to be ready. We have to decide how we are going to approach the start of the season. We cannot have any experiments at the beginning of the campaign, because things can easily go very, very bad. You can easily lose to 2 of those games and it's already over by September. You don't want that to be the case. You have to be ready. So this is one of the players that we're looking at as Thomas Partey's replacement. I remember last season I said the only players that I feel like could replace Thomas Partey if he leaves us is if we go for players like Bruno Guimaraes, who are going to cost you 80, 90 million pounds. So that is not going to happen. But we already have other players on the shortlist in case Thomas Partey ends up leaving. Hopefully, again, by the end of the week, we get to know more on the Thomas Partey situation. Is it him that he wants more money? He doesn't want to sign a contract. Have Arsenal offered enough in terms of wages? And it's Thomas Partey who's trying to maybe look for other options. Do Arsenal really want to keep him? Does Partey really want to stay? Let's wait and see what happens with all that. But that's the latest. I don't know much about this player, so I can't really talk about him. But yeah, 20 million pounds, that's around maybe 13 million pounds. So that's 20 million euros. That's around 14 million pounds there. Yeah, that is very cheap. I wouldn't be too confident replacing Partey with the 14 million pound player. Hey, listen, not everyone has to be 50 million. But yeah, when you start replacing Partey with the 12 million, 13 million pound player, who's coming from a different country, you're going to have to really, hope that he's ready. And the other midfielder that you've bought in Zubimendi hasn't ever played in England before. It becomes a bit problematic. But yeah, that's one player that we are linked to, Lucien Agome. He's 23 years of age, as it's written there, but I have no clue how he plays. I have no clue about his game, nothing at all. Now, yesterday we didn't talk about this, but we are losing one of our assistant managers, as Fabrizio reported yesterday. Serie A side Parma have decided to appoint Carlos Cuesta as new manager. Talks at final stages with Arsenal to get green light and appoint 29-year-old Spanish manager who's now leaving assistant head coach role at Arsenal. Record appointment for Serie A. First of all, well done to him being a 29-year-old manager and being picked by a Serie A club right away. That means he was very, very good, which he was. Hearing every single player at Arsenal talking about him, especially during the documentary that Arsenal released 3 years ago, the Amazon documentary. At that point, he was 26 years of age, and he's the one who sits down with players and talks to players, on a personal level and all that. And he does a very good job. He's a person who we've been used to seeing around Mikel Arteta and the rest of the coaching team. So it's a big loss. Is someone who's very crucial in the team. So I don't know who's going to replace him. All the best to him for sure, but it's definitely a big loss. There's been rumors of Jack Wilshere replacing him. There's been rumors of Santi Cazorla replacing him. I've seen some people have taking that news differently. Some people are happy if you get someone like a Cazorla. Some people are like, no, we don't want any more Arsenal connections. Let's get someone more experienced in that role to help out Arteta. But yeah, all the best to Carlos Cuesta. Now we also need to get another. Yesterday we talked about all the things we need to do. Now we need to also get another assistant manager. So there's a lot to do before the start of the season. We need to be ready. Goalkeeper, where is Kepa, the backup goalkeeper? What is happening with Rodrygo? Rodrygo, he's playing today for Real Madrid. I don't think he's going to start, but maybe after today we get to see a better picture of whether Rodrygo is going to stay or leave. If he comes on and plays a few minutes and scores and looks happy and all that, maybe he's going to stay. But if he doesn't come on at all and the rumors start, piling up that he's going to leave Real Madrid, let's wait and see tonight's Real Madrid's game, how they do, and if he plays some minutes. I'd say maybe the first 3 games is when you're going to see what Xabi Alonso has planned for Rodrygo, because he wants to play on the left side, and that is Vinicius and Mbappe's side. I don't think Rodrygo is going to get that many opportunities, and I think they're going to have to sell at least one of them, Rodrygo, Brahim Diaz, or maybe both of them. So let's see. But today has been a very quiet day, as you've seen. We've only talked about literally 4 players. Nothing much has happened today. We've been talking about the fixtures earlier, but nothing much has happened today. So hopefully things pick up pace now since we've seen the fixtures. I'm usually not worried about these big teams because we know we've been doing well against them, the Uniteds and the Chelseas and the Tottenhams and the Man Cities and the Liverpools. It's been long since we lost to any of them, but it's also been very long since we won at Liverpool. We don't usually win at Man United. I think we've won at Man United since we moved to the Emirates. We've won at Old Trafford like twice, 20 years. We've won there twice. I think Premier League era, maybe 4 times in total. We've won at Old Trafford. That's another ground we don't win. And we know how Newcastle have done damage to us over the last 3 seasons. We have to be ready. If you start that season with a striker and you have Rodrygo there and you beat Man United and you go and you pick up a positive results at Liverpool, the confidence all of a sudden builds and people are looking forward to September and the rest of the season. But if you start those games without a strike and then you end up missing chances again and then you lose 1 or 2 of those games, then the mood would be very, very different. So let's hope you're ready. Let's hope you're ready for them. RK says, how are you doing, Glenn? I'm doing good. To that. Hello, Saif. I'm Turkish at Arsenal below third and New Year will get sacked. Javi says, I'm Turkish. If Arsenal are below third at New Year, we will let Mikel get sacked. I don't think so. It depends on how far. If we are like 3 points behind, then no. If we are like 20 points behind of top spot, and depending on how we've done in the Carabao Cup, if you're already out, whether you've gone out of the Man City have already scored, my goodness. So it depends on how far we are from those teams. That's what it depends on, how far we are behind those teams. But if you're like on the same points and all that, it's not going to be so. I think Atta will have the entire season, no matter what happens. So I think after the season, that's when the decision, if it's going to be made, is going to be made after the season. Lucas says, long time. Yep, nice seeing you, Lucas. Only Sylvester says, I'm following from Monrovia. What's happening to Arsenal transfer? Let's hope it picks up Kelechi. Arsenal Jokers, no signing still now, says Gilbert. Our board are very stupid, says George. Where's the money we sold Eddie and Smith Rowe? Can't say the team got no money to pay 70 million pounds. This is so annoying. I still feel like that's letting go of Eddie, Smith Rowe, Fabio Vieira, and Nelson without replacing them that was crazy. I still can't believe we did that, because in terms of squad depth, we were just asking, Saka and whoever else playing in those positions to play the entire season without getting injured at all. Elias says this is taking forever. Gyokeres has always been my first choice, but Tata has had his ways with signings who really don't find it difficult to fit in. I'll support Sesko to the fullest if he's the one who comes on board. Of course, if he's the one who comes on board, we're hoping he gets a hat-trick in the first game against Man United if possible. It would be great also to give Man United their first loss of the season, send them back to negative goal difference again very early. That would be great. But if they start and they beat us, then it's a different conversation. Because it's going to be difficult. We don't know which kind of Man United is going to be there next season. They might have Mbeumo and Cunha, and they've had a very, very bad season. Maybe next season it's not going to be the same. Steven has said, personally, I'm confident a lot has happened. Transfers are concluded, but the management is intentional here. No need to panic. Now, I'm not panicking yet, but at this point next month, if we haven't really made any business, then I'll panic. But for now, I'm not going to panic. We're still like 1 month away from the preseason starting. And you can sign a player on Monday and sign another one on Tuesday. So I'm okay as of now, but we need to be ready by that start of the season, teams are going to be ready. I so wish the Chronicles can sell this team, otherwise who will not win the Premier League, says Judge. What about Partey? We talked about him, Vinley. These fixtures, these Premier League people are not doing justice for our team. It's almost like they did that on purpose, They're like, maybe this one, let's not give Arsenal the red cards, but let's give them a very tough start to the Premier League season. I think like they did do these things on purpose, honestly. It's true, Partey's moving from Arsenal, says Nika. Although we need Partey, but this is the best time to cash on him. We're not getting any cash. Loneke is going to leave for free. If he leaves, he's leaving for free. You're not getting a single penny for him. He's going to leave for free. So we are not going to sell Partey at any point. Even if he increases for 1 year right now, it's 1 year and he's going to leave for free. We're not going to make any money from Partey right now. Partey is already past his 30s, and right now you're not going to sell him. Even if he had like a 1-year contract remaining, maybe you'd have gotten like 10 million for him. So Partey is going to leave for free if you don't give him a new contract. And if you give him a new contract, he's going to be here and live for free next season anyway. RK says, please subscribe and smash the like button. Thank you, RK. Charles says Baleba Brighton is the replacement from Thomas Partey. He's looked very good. Those are the kind of players who end up at Chelsea. Those Brighton players usually end up at Chelsea. But yeah, he's been okay. He has Premier League experience now, at least for a year or two. He usually looks good every time I watch Brighton play. But yeah, it's not as easy as that to just replace players like Partey and Jorginho. Those players have been there for a long time. They know what they're doing in that midfield. It looks like Arsenal are having a tough time to sign players, says Charles. Maybe let's start looking at retaining the players we have before they're poached by other teams. That's one thing that you definitely need to do before anything else. You need to keep your players, Players like Gabriel cannot leave. Players like Saliba cannot leave. Saka, Rice, players like that cannot leave. And as I've told you guys always, I want to keep Martinelli and Trossard for squad depth, because you've seen we've already not signed anyone in June 18th. Now, if you start getting rid of Partey, Martinelli, and Trossard, when are we going to get the 7-8 players now to have enough players in the squad? It's not ideal. I'm following from Zambia, says Zebron. Thank you. Lokonga situation, please. We talked about Lokonga like last week, maybe Friday. Basically, Arsenal don't want to keep Lokonga, but Sevilla also don't want to keep Lokonga. I think that was the case. So Lokonga is not going to stay at Arsenal pretty much, but I think if you're going to sell him, you're not going to get that much money for Lokonga. So yeah, Lokonga, Tavares, Marquinhos, unfortunately, as I've always said, those transfers that we made that season, we were a different team then. We were just trying to finish in the top 4. We're not really trying to fight for the title and trying to get to a Champions League final next season. That is not what we were trying to do. So it never really worked. Players like Tavares and Lokonga, man, Premier League would be very, very tough for them. So yeah, he's going to leave, but you're not going to get that much money for him. Samuel says, hello, Glenn. We think we should keep Partey. Martin says, Glenn, we are going to go for Sesko ahead of Gyokeres. I feel that way as well. Unless Gyokeres' money is significantly low, then maybe you might switch to him. Thank you so much, bro, for the updates. I appreciate it. Edu, I hope we sign a good striker who will beat Man United very well in the first match. That would be great. But, football can very much football. This Man City guys, man, Mamouche and Chucky are looking very good, and it's only the Club World Cup. Yeah, we have to be ready. Every time I'm just watching this game right now and the way they're moving the ball, I'm like, Man City are going to be very different next season already. We'll beat Man United, but football can football, They can also beat you. And then first game, lost 3 points behind Man City, Liverpool. Not ideal. And I think Liverpool have Arsenal and someone else in the first 3 games. I think Newcastle, but they also have, I think, Everton at home. They have Burnley. I think they have Bournemouth or something. So Liverpool can easily win all those home games. Sandy says, I love Viktor Gyokeres. We all do, Sandy. We all do. Hopefully we can get a player like that. We can go for Takefusa as Saka's 7-star backup. That is Takefusa Kubo. Yep, I don't mind him. Another player from Sociedad. We've signed a lot of the players from there. I don't mind him as a backup. I want a striker, a left winger, and an extra attacking player, whether it's a backup to Saka or backup to Odegaard or someone else who can play the number 8 position. Edu says, I think at left wing, Joao Pedro can be amazing for the team. Not as a starting left wing. I'm looking for someone who's been playing that position throughout. Joao Pedro has been playing as a striker for Brighton. I want someone who's used to playing that position since they were kids, players like Rodrygo and players like Rafa Leao, who are used to being wingers and they've practiced that winger position. Joao Pedro can definitely score goals. He's been doing that a lot for them over the last 2-3 years. Uncle Hill says, I'm getting really frustrated. I'm getting really tired and frustrated with Arsenal's transfer activities. They don't show any seriousness, and then they expect results. Hopefully now that the fixtures have come out, we can be serious, because it's not going to be easy at all. So let's just recap what we've talked about today. There's this, our assistant manager is leaving. So we're going to need to replace him. All the best to Carlos Cuesta at Parma. Very interested to see how he does, 29 years of age. Now we have a lot of former Arsenal employees as managers there. I think Vieira is a manager there. Fabregas, right? So all those guys are managers in this area. This is a guy we are considering to replace Thomas Partey. It's called Luciana Gomez. I don't know much about him, but it cost less than 20 million euros. But that is if Partey leaves. AC Milan have made an inquiry on Thomas Partey. We've had that Thomas Partey would be keen on joining Barcelona if they push for him. But the player is still expected to return to London this week with no agreement as of last week. So let's see. And then for Benjamin Sesko, I also have reached an agreement with Benjamin Sesko, and the Gunners have signaled to Leipzig that the offer will be in line with the expectations, which could be around 80 million euros. If you want these players, you're going to have to pay money. I'm still going to say that. Sesko, Gyokeres, Rodrygo, players who are going to change the direction of your team, you're going to have to pay money, whether you like it or not. You're not going to have 100 million and you get both Sesko and Rodrygo with 100 million. That is not going to be the case. You're not going to have just 300,000 per week to offer and you get both of them for that, 150. That is not going to happen. Chelsea's fixtures are now here. We need to pull up our socks now by signing players before it is too late. Yep, they need to be here by preseason. So that's it for today. It's going to be a short one because there's not too much news. But hopefully, if we get any more news later on today, we are going to cover it as always. But yeah, make sure to check out the reaction to the fixtures released earlier today. But that's the latest for today. Again, back at the same time tomorrow with another live show. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.